Tell Mr. Wilson I'd like to see him.
Now, who is here to see Mr. Wilson?
Asked a voice from behind them.
Ah, so it's you. What are you doing here? Still trying to sell properties? Maybe you're trying to sell your own property. It is a bit on the smaller side. Do you think my boss would like that? You are a fool.
Mr. Cole, I agree. Do you want me to call the security?
Robert was in no mood to waste any more words on Fraser. He impatiently waved his hand.
All of you, stop.
Shouted a stern voice from nearby.
Mr. Wilson, what are you doing here? Can I help you with anything? Why are you still standing there? Fraser, get lost.
You get lost. You are the ones who should get lost. You fools.
You bunch of idiots. Do you know who he is?
Mr. Wilson, I presume. I hope that you are available to meet me tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning at the sales department of the Philly Group to personally buy from me 100 properties.
No problem, Mr. McLemore. I'll be there on time.
Well, now, Mr. Cole, I am an honorable man, but I don't think it's necessary for you to kneel down and lick my shoe. After all, your mouth is too dirty and smelly.
He mumbled something incoherent about cooking dinner and hurried out. Why would someone of his power need to go home and cook something?
How many times have I told you, knock on the door before you come in? How hard is that to remember?
My wife, can you stop reminding me of the rules?
He asked, smiling bitterly. He had anticipated the scolding, but it had still hurt. Natalia Laples, the business director of the real estate group, glared at her husband.
You know, because I'm your wife, I tried to cut you some slack. You've been working here for 3 months now, and I tried to get your name out there. How many properties have you sold?
Nothing.
You haven't brought in even a single customer. What have you been doing? Sit around like you sit at home? With the current housing market situation, even a fool would be better than you.
Hearing the volume of his wife's scolding, Fraser immediately closed the door behind him. At the very least, he couldn't let others hear the embarrassing firing he was a victim of.
Why do you even bother shutting the door? Even if you shut the door, it's not like everyone doesn't know how much of a joke you are. I was really blind when I married you.
Natalia's heart ached as she said these words. She felt wronged.
Natalia, it's not that I don't want to work hard. It's that the sales manager always steals my customers. The sales manager hates me. The whole department hates me. From day one, I haven't been able to keep a single customer.
Fraser, how many times have I told you? You need to learn to be objective. Take some initiative and responsibility.
Very well. I'll try harder, I promise.
I don't believe that. I'd rather believe pigs can fly. Look, I'll try to help you out again. I've talked to these 2 clients. You just need to contact them.
Fraser felt a burst of embarrassment, but he was also touched. His wife always had a sharp tongue, but a soft heart. After taking the piece of paper, he dejectedly left her office. As soon as he stepped out of the door, he heard laughter erupting from the previously quiet sales department. A salesperson, Tarzan Linster, quickly grabbed a cloth and passed it to Fraser.
Hurry up and get back to work. You like housework.
Tarzan laughed mockingly at Fraser before saying,
Go ahead and tidy the office. You know, I don't understand you. Director Labels makes plenty of money. She can support you just fine. Why don't you run on back home and get back to your classic housework and cooking? Why are you trying to steal work from the rest of us? You're worthless here.
Tarzan!
Joe Parker, one of the higher-up salespeople, pushed the salesperson away. Fraser didn't trust Joe any more than he trusted Tarzan. Joe always acted as the manager's spy. He had directly taken customers from Fraser on countless occasions.
Come on, Joe, why don't you push him out instead? All you have to do is hit him.
Tarzan had a cruel look on his face and even took a step closer. Fraser was used to their provocation, but it didn't mean he liked it. He glared at the two men and headed to his desk. Joe spat out as Fraser walked away.
Trash is really giving our department a bad name. What are you laughing at? Go back to work. Come on, guys! I want sales! 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 Sales!
When the mocking voices faded and everyone started to get back to work, Fraser unfolded the note Natalia had given him. However, just as he was about to call the first number on the list, a large, middle-aged man walked over to stand beside his desk. Fraser peered up into the irritated face of his manager, Peter Earle. Peter glared condescendingly at Fraser before asking,
Macklemore, who gave you permission to use your personal cell phone on company time?
I'm calling a client.
Oh, really? Do you really think that you can succeed in making a sale? Why are you so stubborn? Look at them. They can sell a property every few days. Then we have you. You're worthless. If it wasn't for the fact that your wife is the boss, I would have fired you a long time ago. Do you think you could earn the same salary as those guys for doing nothing? Macklemore, this is your last chance. If you can sell 100 properties by tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, then you can stay. I'll even give you a promotion. If you don't, then you have to pack your stuff and leave.
A murmur went through the sales department as everyone heard the almost impossible task on Fraser's hands. Although the employees knew that Peter was determined to get rid of Fraser, they never expected him to be so ruthless by demanding the young man to sell 100 properties in less than 24 hours. The most that the department had ever sold was a combined effort among the entire staff to sell 89 properties in 2 weeks. Selling 100 in a day was an unrealistic goal. News of the challenge quickly spread through the entire building. Soon after, Natalia also heard the news and rushed out of her office. Although she knew that Peter was deliberately making things difficult for Fraser, and she didn't like it, she still greeted her sales manager with a forced smile.
Mr. Earle, don't you think you're being a little impractical?
She asked.
Do you think those numbers are actually...
Don't say anything.
Peter interrupted Natalia coldly.
Director Laples, it was because of this idiot that our sales department became the laughingstock of the Philly Group, and even the entire San Clemente real estate industry. Therefore, I have a responsibility to my team that can't be avoided.
Peter stood up straight and announced,
By 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, if your useless husband can't sell 100 properties, then he'll be kicked out, and you'll be dragged out along with him.
Looking at Peter's malicious smile, Fraser had the urge to punch the man in his smug face. But when he saw Natalia's unsteady feet, he rushed forward to support her.
You all right?
He asked softly. Natalia was still in a daze. She had come to the company soon after graduating from college and had worked hard to reach her current position. Now, in the blink of an eye, it could all be lost because of the ultimatum to her husband. Have all these years of hard work just gone down the drain? She wondered. If I lose my job over this, how will we support ourselves? Will I have to rely on my useless husband? This joke was quickly becoming not funny at all. The more Natalia thought about it, the angrier she got. She almost slapped Fraser.
Everything is going wrong because of you!
Oh, Natalia. What's wrong? You angry again?
Asked a voice from afar. When Fraser turned and saw the young man, his expression darkened. Was dressed extravagantly. Even the sunglasses he wore were worth hundreds of dollars. He was Moss Ferlin, a junior executive of the Philly Group. During Fraser's 3 months in his new position, he had seen Moss harass his wife countless times. It was a good thing that Natalia had some keen observation skills and could defend herself. Every time Moss tried to pester her, she was able to avoid his moves with great ingenuity and rationality. Regardless, it was annoying, and now that he had appeared at this awkward moment, Fraser had a bad feeling.
Dr. Naples, what's going on?
Moss asked in a strange tone. Before Natalia could respond, Peter stepped up and immediately explained the situation. Moss nodded and agreed, but paused thoughtfully before asking.
But Mr. Earl, aren't you being a little too heartless? Especially involving our lovely director, Naples, in your threat?
Moss thought about it for a while and came to a conclusion, saying,
See, how about this? Let me take care of this little situation for now. Let's tell you. So you worked really hard to get to where you are with the company. And I appreciate your hard work. You should understand this without me even saying anything. So you have dinner with me tomorrow evening. We're going to discuss how we're going to proceed. Perhaps I can think of a way for you to get a promotion. I think it's supposed to be cold tomorrow. So be sure to bring your stockings.
Fraser wasn't stupid either. He naturally understood the hidden meaning behind the junior executive's words.
Do you think I don't exist?
He could let a lot of things slide, but when it came to his wife and her dignity, there was no way he could tolerate such a behavior. Fraser was about to explode.
Stop it, Fraser. Don't you think you've caused me enough trouble already?
She turned away before anyone could see the embarrassment on her face. She was confused and didn't know what to do. Glancing at Fraser again, Moss grinned. He leaned over and whispered,
Might as well tell you. I've taken a fancy to your wife, and I plan to sleep with her. And someone like you can't stop me. You simply can't compete.
Moss left with a burst of laughter while Fraser kept his head down. He dug his fingernails angrily into the flesh of his palms. Moss had completely embarrassed him and trampled all over his dignity. Later that evening, after Fraser had left work, he stood on the bridge and watched the flow of traffic below, his mind lost in thought. As his thoughts coalesced, his gaze grew colder and more determined.
No matter how wrong I am, I can still endure it. But if anyone goes after Natalia, all bets are off. I'll personally send them to hell.
He took out his phone, found a number he hadn't used in years, and clicked on the call icon. The phone quickly connected, and an excited voice could be heard from the other end of the line.
When I picked up the phone and I saw who was calling, I couldn't believe it. Is it really you, my young friend? You actually called. Did you know I was...
Fraser interrupted the person on the other end of the line.
Uncle Sam, I'm in some trouble right now. I need your help.
What? Someone's trying to harm you? Of course I can send.
No, it's not that troublesome. Just need money to solve this problem. I need a few $1 million.
Old Sam sighed in relief.
You gave me such a scare. Look, forget about the money. Whatever you need, it's yours. But...
He hesitated.
No need to say anything more. I understand that since I'm asking for help, my decision to separate myself from the family becomes invalid. But I can't return just yet.
Uncle Sam was excited to hear Fraser's words. He had been waiting to hear them for years.
Good. This wouldn't be a problem. As long as you agree to return to the family, everything will be fine. You know, of all the successes for the Macklemore family, the one your father values the most is you.
Fraser became silent for a moment. He really didn't want to talk about this topic. He cleared his throat and tried to get the conversation back on track.
How long till the money gets here? You should still know the private account information, right?
However, Uncle Sam was still going on about the family.
Fraser, I won't hide it from you. After your father found out you were in San Clemente, he secretly purchased the largest company there, in your name. You have plenty of money. You can just go and take over the company.
Hearing that, Fraser pursed his lips. it seemed that even though he had been away from home for many years, his father was still thinking about him. Otherwise, according to the nature of the Macklemore family, they wouldn't have even considered buying a business in a place as small as San Clemente.
You'll also be interested to know that a member of the Orange County Chamber of Commerce has ties to the family, as well as companies and businesses in the local area also having strong connections to the family.
Okay, thanks for the heads up. We'll talk again soon. It looks like the days ahead are going to be far from peaceful.
Members of the wealthy class never seemed to be able to escape from their obligations. Fraser had chosen to leave his family because he didn't want to live a life of deception. But now, he had to face it bravely because his wife was being bullied. After letting out a long puff of smoke, he put out the cigarette and tossed it into the garbage. He then got into his car and drove to a corporate headquarters building across town. It was one of the largest companies in San Clemente, and he had been here many times during the past 3 months because he had been in charge of distributing and putting up flyers. The two women who worked at the front desk always gave him a hard time. Fraser walked into the lobby on the first floor and was immediately noticed by the two women.
Fraser, it's you again. You really have some nerve coming here again and again.
Well, don't come in. You're not allowed here anymore. Look at the notice.
Take a good look.
You've been put on our blacklist, and I designed this announcement myself. How about that?
Fraser craned his head and saw that under his photo there was a short blurb. He read it silently. Fraser, a useless salesperson at the Philly Group, has repeatedly snuck into our office area to distribute unwanted flyers. This worthless person, whose wife has repeatedly cheated on him, is not welcome in the building. Recently, the women's restroom has been subjected to a peeping Tom, and we suspect that Fraser is the culprit. As such, he has been put on the company's blacklist. If anyone sees him on the premises, contact security or a staff member immediately. After reading the description, Fraser frowned and thought, if they don't want me to put up flyers, that's fine, but why drag my name through the mud? Fraser took a deep breath and resisted the urge to lower himself to the level of the two women at the desk. He ignored the notice and said coolly,
Tell Mr. Wilson I'd like to see him.
Now, who is here to see Mr. Wilson?
Asked a voice from behind them. At that moment, a balding middle-aged man walked out. When he saw Fraser, he heaved a sigh and said,
Ah, so it's you. What are you doing here? Still trying to sell properties? Maybe you're trying to sell your own property. It is a bit on the smaller side. Do you think my boss would like that? You are a fool.
Mr. Cole, I agree. Do you want me to call the security?
One of the women at the desk piped up. She reached for the desk phone and started pressing the buttons. Fraser said calmly,
Well, you're right about one thing. I am here to sell your boss my home. In fact, I don't want to sell him one property. I'm going to sell him 100.
With that, Fraser took out his cell phone and directly called Henry Wilson, the corporation's president. His tone was full of arrogance as he ordered Henry to meet him in the lobby on the first floor within 3 minutes.
You want to sell the boss 100 properties. I'll tell you what, if you're successful in selling your properties to Mr. Wilson, I will kneel down and I will lick your shoes in front of everybody here.
Robert was overjoyed at the foolishness of the young man. As soon as he said that, security guards rushed in. Robert was in no mood to waste any more words on Fraser. He impatiently waved his hand.
Not you again.
One of the guards cried as he recognized Fraser.
You may have gotten away from us last time, but you won't escape so easily this time.
Both guards advanced on Fraser as they pulled out their nightsticks to give him a beating. He stood and watched them step closer, a somber expression on his face.
All of you, stop.
Shouted a stern voice from nearby. The security guards froze, as did everyone else.
Mr. Wilson, what are you doing here? Can I help you with anything?
All eyes turned to the front desk. where Henry Wilson was standing, watching the unprofessional scene unfolding before him with disdain.
Why are you still standing there? Fraser, get lost!
Henry's eyes widened in shock when he heard Fraser's name, and he stared at the young man before him. It's him? He thought in wonder. It's really him? Henry snapped.
Get lost. You are the ones who should get lost. You fools.
You bunch of idiots. Do you know who he is?
He looked around at Robert and the others, his expression livid. Fraser jumped in to interrupt. He didn't want too many people to know his identity just yet.
Mr. Wilson, I presume. I hope that you are available to meet me tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning at the sales department of the Philly Group to personally buy from me 100 properties.
Robert stared in shock. Had Fraser really asked his boss to purchase so many properties? He found himself even more startled a few moments later when Mr. Wilson spoke.
No problem, Mr. McMore. I'll be there on time.
The onlookers gasped and murmured to one another. Fraser turned his gaze on the stunned manager.
Well, now, Mr. Cole, I am an honorable man, but I don't think it's necessary for you to kneel down and lick my shoe. After all, your mouth is too dirty and smelly.
He glanced and saw that it was almost 6. He mumbled something incoherent about cooking dinner and hurried out. Henry watched in concentration as the young man left. Was he actually saying something about having to cook dinner? Why would someone of his power need to go home and cook something? He started to call out the young man questioningly, but saw that he had already sped away.
Mr. Wilson, are you sure about this? This man Fraser, he's not trustworthy. This might be a mistake.
Henry turned his cold glare on Robert.
I think you were the one who's making the mistake. Head to accounts and pick up your last paycheck. You won't be here tomorrow. That's all.
After saying that, Henry left without looking back. Robert watched the president of the company walk away from him. He just fired me, Robert thought in a sullen state. His face paled as he looked around at the 2 women at the desk. They stared back at him. One of them quickly tore down the blacklist. The remaining fear in their hearts had yet to disappear. Both women were thinking the same thing. Who exactly is that guy? Fraser. The moment Fraser entered the house, Natalia's family was on his case.
Can you see what time it is? Are you deliberately making your family starve?
Asked James, Natalia's older brother and Fraser's brother-in-law. Dorothy, Natalia's mother, who was busy in the kitchen, stuck her head out and said,
You're worthless. You think you're too good to cook for us now? Are you too good for this family?
Mom, I went out for work.
What?
Natalia cried, walking in through the door right behind him. It seemed like she had been crying.
You alright?
He asked.
What?
She snapped. Before he could say anything, she stormed off to the bedroom and slammed the door. Fraser quickly finished preparing the meal before going and checking on her. He knocked and then pushed the door open. However, he found that Natalia had her head down as she was going through her stocking drawer, recalling Moss's words from earlier that day.
So be sure to bring your stocking.
Fraser was instantly angered.
Natalia!
He shouted.
What are you trying to do? Are you really gonna humiliate me by accepting Moss's offer? Look, if you want to treat me like a good-for-nothing loser, fine, but don't do it at your own expense and reputation. Are you really going to betray our relationship?
Natalia was shocked. She gaped at Fraser with her almond-shaped eyes. That was the first time in her memory that Fraser had been angry enough to shout at her. Instantly, a strong feeling of resentment rose in her heart.
Fraser, are you a man or not? You dare to be mean to me now? Have you even stopped to think about why I might be doing this? Are you really so foolish? Do you really think I would need to compromise myself like this if you even had the slightest bit of skill at your job? Was there a need to degrade me like this?
Fraser was silent and lowered his head in shame. Fraser's heart softened and his anger dissipated. He tried to reach out and give her a hug to comfort her, but she pushed him away.
Don't touch me! I'm really sick of you! After enduring for so many years, I'm tired of trying. If it doesn't work out, we do as my parents say. We need to get divorced.
No, I won't.
Fraser shook his head stubbornly in refusal. Natalia rolled her eyes in anger. For the past 3 years, Fraser never said no to her except when the topic of divorce came up. In these cases, he would become adamant in his protests.
Natalia.
Fraser began, his tone softer.
I know I've asked you to trust me before. Can you trust me again this time?
Trust you again?
Natalia grimaced. However, when she turned toward him and saw Fraser's serious expression, one that she had never seen before, she swallowed the words that were about to come out of her mouth. She didn't know if it was an illusion or not, but his demeanor gave her a sense of reliability and control.
Natalia, do you still remember the promise that I made to you? The promise that no matter what happens, I won't let you get hurt. Please trust me again. I have a surprise planned for tomorrow.
Whatever you have planned, don't try it. There's no way you'll be able to sell 100 properties. It's impossible. Don't make empty promises. Look, I'm not cheap or foolish. Even if I do meet with Moss tomorrow, I won't let things go too far.
With that, Natalia left the room to eat dinner with the family. She's being naive, he thought. If she has dinner with Moss tomorrow, it will be like sending a lamb into a lion's den. I'm sure Moss has 100 ways to try to get her to sleep with him. After everyone gathered around the table to eat dinner, Fraser had just grabbed his fork to take a bite of food when Dorothy started to criticize him again. This time, however, she was back to urging him to divorce Natalia as soon as possible.
Fraser, the deadline we set for you is almost up. You haven't even started earning what we asked you to. You're barely bringing in $1,000 a month. That's not enough to support one of you, let alone two.
What? You're bringing home $1,000 a month? That's not even enough for me to buy enough cigarettes to smoke in a month.
Natalia's jobless brother spoke with a look of disdain on his face. He seemed to be forgetting the fact that he himself wasn't working, and he was sitting around all day without any source of income. Natalia asked quietly,
Mom, James, why can't you two just drop it? Let's just have a peaceful meal.
You want a peaceful meal? All right then. It's time for you to move out with your foolish husband.
Houston was Natalia's father. He had been born into a wealthy family that was successful in business, the Laples family. However, because of his poor ability, he had been kicked out of the family's main business 10 years ago and was given the job of managing an ailing company in San Clemente, also owned by the Laples family.
What? Dad, are you joking? You want us to move out? Why?
Your brother. He had a hard time to sort out this marriage. And his fiancée has said that she doesn't like the number of people living here.
Dad, you...
Let me finish. I had a serious thought about that. Your sister in college, she has been living there for a long time. You're doing quite well. So why can't you rent an apartment for the two of you?
Natalia was enraged. She slammed her hand on the table and asked,
Why should we? This place is 2,000 square feet, so why can't it accommodate the two of us? That woman is asking for too much before she's even married. She's way too overbearing.
James immediately tried to protect his fiancée.
Natalia, be careful, okay? She's your future sister-in-law, okay? So change your attitude. Just because you're married to a loser, you think that the entire family will support you?
Enough.
Finally, Houston intervened.
Your mom and I only have one son. And we're leaving this house to him.
Natalia, you're earning quite a bit now. It's more than enough to support yourself.
Dorothy chimed in.
You're being ungrateful. I might have earned a lot, but I've paid more than my fair share into this family.
Seeing that his wife's anger was building to a dangerous level.
Oh, you don't argue with them. It's fine if we have to find our own place.
James looked appreciatively at Fraser. Previously, he was worried that Fraser was only after a stake in his inheritance.
You're pathetic. You're the one who said that I shouldn't allow myself to be bullied. You're just too weak.
She angrily left the table. Fraser followed her, and soon Natalia's indignant voice could be heard again as she continued to berate her husband. James didn't take it to heart, but when he saw that his parents seemed pretty disappointed, he said,
Dad, Mom, just don't worry about it. Let's just eat. Although Fraser is a waste of space, at least his cooking is not so bad.
Later that night, Fraser got up from bed, walked over to Natalia's bedside. He felt sorry for her when he saw that she was still frowning, even though she was asleep. There were traces of tears on her face.
Natalia, moving out of here will be fine. Don't worry.
Hey guys, Fraser here. Listen to the full episode of Unraveling the Son-in-Law exclusively on Pocket FM app. Click the link in description to install the app now.